We are back with you now on Wave Listens Live. Got a special guest who brought some friends along for the ride today. Larry Weiss, owner and president of the Elder Advisors.
He's so special.
Hi, family.
Him special.
He was helping set up the chairs for Lindsay Fleming,
I
the
was
senior vice
directing
president.
the chairs need to be set up.
How did you know where?
I'm not going to hurt my fingernails.
How did you know where they should go? First off,
Because I'm a consummate professional. You will be someday too, Brian.
I'm working
You'll get
on it.
there. I'm here to help you. You can lean right here,
Poor
baby.
Brian.
Anytime.
I know.
On his
I'm here to
first
help you.
day, and it's Larry.
Welcome.
Who organized that for him?
Welcome, Kentuckiana.
They basically set me up.
Yeah,
Right.
they did.
What's that,
They did.
Hannah? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm really excited about the Derby this Saturday, so I'm dressed up every day as we lead up to the Derby.
Honey,
I'm dressed up.
oh,
What?
It's over.
You made Derby happen Saturday? Wait, this isn't live television because I'd be really embarrassed.
Yeah.
Go.
Maybe you're still tired from Derby, like
no,
everybody
I was
else.
leading up. I've been drinking all night for the Derby
Oh,
this Saturday. Is that happening?
We couldn't tell.
As Larry builds his credibility with Kentuckiana.
Hey, I want to give a special shout out to Paul Stevens. He's one of our clients. He's quite elderly, loves the show. Hi, Paul Stevens. We love you.
Well, okay, so Paul clearly knows what it is that you guys are up to. The viewers who are with us all the time know, let's say we've got some folks on here. They love Derby so much they stayed in town. They now live in Louisville. Explain what they need to know about you.
Don't go broke in a nursing home, Brian, because the reality is you don't have to. We're having our workshops next week. It's been 6 weeks since we did one, so Monday we'll be in Louisville, Tuesday in Clarksville, and Wednesday down in E-Town. We're going downtown to E-Town because the reality is you don't have to go broke in a
We're
nursing
looking
home.
forward to E-Town.
I am.
Yeah.
I just have to be up by nightfall.
Okay. Why? What happens then?
I can't say. I can't say. It's not pleasant. It's not for the tender ears of television.
But we are really looking forward to, you know, we've spent a lot of time in Louisville, we've spent a lot of time
Sure.
in Clarksville, and there are some folks here that are watching, right, that just aren't maybe, it's not convenient to drive up to Louisville or to Clarksville, so we're really excited for that. So,
You know, it's almost like everyone you talk to has some sort of experience with this topic. It's obviously important. How big of an issue are the things that you guys help people work through here in the state of Kentucky?
Well, it's tremendous because when we start the workshops, we usually start with 3 key questions. You know, how many people have a loved one in a nursing home about to go? That's crisis planning. We can help. For husband and wife, we can protect all the assets if one spouse goes in. They don't have to subscribe to the barbershop law, which is, well, let's get divorced to protect the assets. I mean, unless you want to get divorced, but you don't have to.
It's another conversation.
Right.
Is that why you brought the attorney today?
Well, we could.
I don't do divorces.
Brian, notwithstanding the Kevin Harted weather report, you're raining on my parade. I'll get there. I'll get there. Okay. Second question is how many people have loved one at home, maybe getting some rehab. If things don't work out, they may have to look at placement. That's pre-crisis planning. We can help there. If it's a single person, we can still protect half the assets. Or how many people want to simply avoid these problems and be proactive now? And that's when everybody's hands go up. And when that hand goes up, we're almost always involved in the legal component, which is why we invited Amy Wheatley to come on today from Stein Law. Yay,
Amy,
Stein Law.
the dynamic diva attorney.
Yes.
She's
Well,
ready.
It's important to talk about this. It's important to offer workshops like these. If folks are thinking about signing up, what do you want them to know before they decide, hey, this is the workshop that I need to be a part of?
All they have to do is go to freeworkshop.com or they can call 855-LARRY-55 because it answers all of the questions people might have. But give up an hour of your time. It's fast-paced. We're usually done by 11:30. And, we want people to have questions answered there. That's why we've invited Amy Wheatley from Stein Law. Sadly, Amy Stein isn't available this month. We really miss her, her skill set for that. So we have Amy Wheatley stepping in. How many Wheatleys? How many Amy's? There's too many.
Well, I always say if you just come to my office and yell Amy, someone will
Someone will pop out.
Right.
Well, you answered the call today, so we'll talk to you for a bit.
Sure.
On the legal side of this, what do you want people to know as maybe they're early on in the process of having to deal with some of the issues that arise?
Well, I think the most important thing for them to know is that they need to be planning now. Don't wait until it becomes a crisis. It's better if you can go ahead and plan these things out early, and it's not so stressful at that time. You can, try to take care of as much as you can early on in the process, and you can do that through powers of attorney. You can do that through trust agreements. You can do that through making sure that your will is there. A lot of people think that, oh, I just have to have a will, and there's a lot more to it than that.
And I think this is, Amy and I were talking about this in the car on the way over. This is empowering, right? This is not, and I think some people are like, there's a fear, a loss of control or a loss of, this is empowering. I mean, this is you telling, it's you really taking control of it. And when you come to the workshop, it is about, everybody feels better after they leave, right? No?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody feels a little bit better after they leave the workshop, because it's free information that is empowering. We're not meant to, I think people think, well, I have to sign over my house to my kids. Oh God, don't do that. You don't have to do that. It's
Right.
not, you actually gain so much control because you know what's getting ready to happen, and you're writing the narrative and not letting the powers that be, as they will, write the narrative. So it's empowering.
Yeah. And here's what's not empowering. When I sat at a table across from a client, I'm dealing with the wife. They've been married 40 years. The husband's in rehab. They're trying to find a place for him. And one of the first questions I ask is, what is the first question?
Do you have a power of
Do you
attorney?
have power of attorney? And when she just kind of goes blank, I know the answer, and I'm like, you've got some problems.
Sure.
Because the fact that they've been married for 40 years does not give her the legal right to access her IRAs if there's real estate issues and things like that. So suddenly we have a problem, and sometimes the meeting kind of grinds to a halt. I mean, I'm good, but I'm not that good. I need the tools to be able to help.
Right.
And what Amy was saying about planting early, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today. It's not ever too late. And I think that's the thing. And Amy goes into a lot of strategies wherever you're at in the process. But there's a lot of folks, Larry's don't go broke in a nursing home, don't go broke in a nursing home. Well, you may be sitting at home watching this, 62, 63, 64 years old, and healthy. Maybe you ran the Triple Crown, whatever. There are no health issues at all. Well, there's still a place for you at the workshop. There's a seat for you to talk about how you can plan and become really empowered with your future.
It's important that you guys are doing these, and we're going to have another segment coming up. And what I really want to get into in that is talking about misinformation. Look, we can joke all we want, but the three of you are experts in what you do. And a lot of folks spend a lot of time talking to people who are giving them information that is clearly way out of bounds.
We love those folks. Yeah.
Is that half the battle?
Oh,
is
yeah.
undoing what?
Well, Bob at church said, and here's the thing about Bob at church. Bob at church loves you. He loves you so much. But Bob at church's circumstances are completely different than your own.
Right.
So it's,
And a Google search is kind of the same thing.
It is.
Yeah.
Don't Google it.
I didn't get my law degree from Google. And you probably shouldn't get your legal advice there.
I'm glad to know. We're going to talk more about misinformation, how to dispel that, how to use the experts, the elder advisors, after the break. We are back with you now on Listens Live. Brian Schlonsky, and you can see my guest here waving at you. Larry
Hello,
Weiss,
Kentuckiana.
Yeah, owner and president of Elder Advisors.
Don't go anywhere else.
Giving me a hard time. A, my socks weren't bright enough. B, I'm not bright enough. I'm flat. I think it's the,
Never mind, Larry.
I
Never
think, to
mind,
be
Larry.
fair, your socks represent your flat delivery today. Okay.
just boring.
But
and
here's
dull.
the thing, yeah, right? I'm falling asleep on my television. But it's only where to go.
I'm fascinated they didn't ask you to host. Or maybe they didn't ask you to host for a reason.
Yeah.
Barbershop law.
Okay.
Barbershop law. So we're talking about the teasers.
good transition, right?
Yeah.
Barbershop law can be devastating to families because we always have a couple empty seats. And I point to them when you open up the workshops, which will be at Louisville on Monday, Clarksville on Tuesday, and E-Town on Wednesday. And those empty seats are because some people have subscribed to the barbershop law, that nothing can be done. Bob at church said, Mary Agnes, who's in Arkansas, said when her grandson Ben Jones went into the nursing home, all this type of stuff. There's problems. There doesn't have to be. But to Amy Wheatley's credit, I don't know everything. when there's a legal component, I refer to attorneys. And we had a lady come in a couple of weeks ago who had talked to an attorney about these type of matters, and it just seemed like there was a disconnect. And so Autumn, who was with the family, called me, and I called Amy Wheatley at Stein Law and said, I've got a fire I need put out here. She moved heaven and earth. She called Autumn, made the appointment. We met with the family last week, and now we're actually getting some sense of this, because until then, the family member was just completely stressed out. She went and talked to an attorney, but evidently, there was some disconnect there. And so Amy kind of got involved. So kudos to Amy Wheatley at Stein Law. We're not over the hump yet, but at least we have some insight, which we didn't have 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So thank you, Amy.
Well, and look, you guys have been around this for a long time. You've seen everything in this line of work. Why do you think there is so much advice thrown around by people who are not qualified to give it?
I can't answer that because I just genuinely don't know. I don't know sometimes if it's hubris. See, people just don't want to admit they don't know. But, if I don't have the answer to something and I don't know everything, I surround myself with top talent. I've got a rack of business cards, whether it's attorneys, CPAs, appraisers, realtors, people that empty out house, auctioneers, whatever, because I don't know everything. So for me, if I don't know the answer, I'll say, it's a good question. Let me get back to you. Like the other day, I had to call Amy and say, this is way over our heads. We need an attorney in the room. And she came back, and we were talking about as we were coming into the studio today.
And I think one of the things, so I have the business section of the Courier Journal.
I read the Courier.
You brought notes
on
too.
Sunday, yeah, talks about one of the tools that Amy uses for the clients about setting up trust as a way to transfer wealth, create financial stability, that kind of stuff. And I think these topics, one, when it comes to health, when it comes to aging, right, culturally is just taboo. Taboo. Culturally taboo. Taboo. Anyway.
Taboo.
But I think, when we talk about finances and things like that, it's deeply personal and it's deeply private. So anyway, I think Amy does a great job of setting up with the clients and building that rapport and making a safe and comfortable space to have a conversation. That we talk about that at the workshop. You don't have to bring any of that information to the workshop. We don't talk about that at the workshop, but we talk about it, and then we set up an appointment with you to talk about it a little bit in depth. But don't you think some of the just the privateness? I think
it is. I mean, I've had the conversation with my own parents, and I know it was difficult. It was difficult because they went my whole life not telling me how much money they made and what all they had, and then to have to make those have those conversations with me as an adult, it was hard, but it needed to be done. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of how I made this kind of transition into Larry and Lindsay is kind of through my own parents. They needed to figure out what they were going to do with all of their stuff before they had to go into a nursing home. They're both in great health and doing well now, but you have to plan for these things ahead of time. And
if you've never gone through it before, these are huge obstacles that you sometimes have to cross, and they end up being major problems if you don't get on top of it.
It is. Oh, sorry. I know. I'm going to steal Larry's thing. It's relatively simple. That's the thing. Like if you're my mid-60 healthy person, today it's simple. It's simple to come out to the workshop. The strategies that Amy used, the support that we provide, it's simple. When it's a crisis, is that people don't plan to fail; they fail to plan.
Right.
Is that what you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, it becomes very overwhelming and stressful. And a crisis. We call it a crisis because it's a crisis, but it doesn't have to be, to Amy's point.
But it's funny how things kind of go. We're working with a couple of brothers now who were referred to us from a client that Lindsay engages on personal care, visits with his wife all the time, right? Mm-hmm. And the brothers were convinced they were going to lose the house. Not one, but 2 houses. Well, guess what? They're keeping both houses. Yeah. How are you doing that? Well, just like the Colonel, I'm not going to share my secret recipe. But
you will at the workshops.
We did that. Yeah, come to the workshops and it starts there. But here's a family. Barbershop Law was convinced nothing could be done. Why even bother? Just lose everything, throw it up. Well, we're keeping both the houses, and we're still putting some money in their pocket, and we're making sure mom is taken care of. How good is that?
Because they've been writing checks for a long time.
Yeah, big time.
They've been
big time.
And that's the thing. We can't get back anything that you've you've already.
Not even Brian.
Not even me. And I will try. I'll do what I can.
What you've already spent, but we can protect what you have today. And I think that's just so, I think that's so important. There is no reason, y'all, not to come to the workshop. I can't think of a single one.
I was going to say, let's hit the workshops again to make sure they know where to go. What went into the thinking of making sure you spread these out so you can make sure people can get to them easily?
Well, it's just that, it just spread it out. We make ourselves available for the Kentucky people May 15th, 10 a.m. at the Hilton Garden Inn on Crittenden Drive, right next to the Cracker Barrel. And then Tuesday morning at the Hampton Inn in Clarksville on Broadway, just off Veterans Parkway. And Wednesday, the 17th, down in E-Town. E-Town at the Hilton Garden Inn in E-Town. All these are at 10 a.m. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Be there. Freeworkshop.com.
Amy's going to be there.
Amy
Larry's going to be there.
representing the legal component, because there's always a legal component in almost every case. And it's just really great when we have an attorney there. People ask legal questions, because I'm not an attorney. Legal questions. It's delightful that we'll have Amy there this month to answer those questions on both sides of the river.
Well, I want to thank all three of you for being here with us today. It's important work. It's important stuff people need to know about. You provide the availability for them to plan for this. When are you coming back? Because I'll make sure I'm dressed appropriately.
Yeah. Is it Thursday?
I think we're back on Thursday. Yeah.
Okay,
If this is a baseline, Brian, we have nowhere to go but up with you, okay?
You can
baseline up from here.
You can pick my color suit. What am I going with?
Oh.
Oh, gosh.
Has to be a good one.
Do not give him that
No,
power.
yeah, don't give Larry the power. Too
Thank you
much.
for being with us.
Bye,
here on
Kentucky
Wave
Anna. I'll see you at
Listens.
the race on Saturday.
I'll see you tomorrow. We're back with you now on Wave Listens Live. I'm Brian Schlonsky, your host, joined again by Larry Weiss and Lindsay Fleming of the Elder Advisors.
Hi, Kentucky Anna.
Today, we did it right. We coordinated.
We did. We all look kind of like blue and
I think
bright
the word
blue.
of the day begins and ends with electrifying,
Electrifying.
for our host of Wave 3 Listens Live, Mr. Brian. You are electrifying, Brian.
There's going to be some electrifying workshops next week.
That's right. Don't go broke in a nursing home.
You're doing it for me. I didn't even need to make that transition. I would have said it, but that was perfect. Let's start with the workshops, because this is important.
It is, but you know what? Everything breaks down to the most common denominator, which is working with clients. And I have to give a shout out to Miss Angel. Love you, Miss Angel. I love Miss Dorothy. They were at our office yesterday, and they just really make us special. Miss Dorothy, we had some things taken care of, and Miss Angel's her right hand. And Angel, you bring a smile to the room. She could walk into a dark room and light up with her smile. So Angel, you made my day yesterday, Princess. You did a good job.
We all need more people like that in our lives.
Really did. Angel, you're just a real special lady.
We
and
love all the
appreciate it.
clients that we work with.
I love Angel
we
more.
do. Okay.
I love Angel
We're not
more.
supposed to have favorites, Mr.
I
White.
do. I'm sorry.
It's a new day. It's a new day.
But don't go broke in a nursing home, because you don't have to, Kentucky Anna.
And speaking of that subject, so when we head out to the workshops, obviously you're going to learn a lot of things when you head out. But as far as some of the questions that you get from folks when they come out, what are some of the early things people want to know when they show up at the workshops?
The IRS says I can give $17,000 to my grandkids. Is that okay for the nursing home? And the answer is
Nope.
no. Completely different set of rules.
Yeah. Okay. So this is why you need experts.
Right.
That's why you need these workshops, because we talked a bit about this the other day when you guys were here. There's so much information that goes around. People, whether they're reading it on Google from the experts, or they're hearing it from their friends at church or down the street, they're not experts though.
No, and they're not. We get, do I have to sell my house? No, but if you do, Jackie and Amanda got you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Great partners and friends of ours. So yeah, but it is. I think there's just so much misconception, and it's because everybody's case is different. Everybody's set of circumstances and facts are different, and we don't get into that real in-depth, like your case and your facts at the workshops, but you learn so much great information and how it may apply to you. And I think that's what's important, is we're just trying to equip people with the right kind of knowledge. And then there's opportunities to come in and talk with us later individually about your certain set of circumstances. The number one thing to remember is that we know all the rules, right? We know all the rules, and we'll use whichever ones apply to you and your case.
And so, Larry, look, you guys know all the rules. You've been around this a long time. Going back to the beginning, when you come out with Don't Go Broke in a Nursing Home, why was that such an important piece that you wanted to get out there first and foremost to folks?
Well, because, people respond to that. People get that.
Right.
Whether they have a loved one in a nursing home or they've heard about it, everybody's aware of that nuance. And it's the air of resignation, Brian. It's the thought that, well, nothing can be done. That's where they subscribe to the barbershop law. And they talk to John at church or Mac at the coffee club, and it's bad news. We kind of thrive in a bad news society. And people, that's why there's some empty seats at the workshops. Although E-Town registrations have
E-Town, they're coming out.
E-Town, we're going to be there.
It was that special shout out you did.
I just have to be out before nightfall.
Okay.
But E-Town has really blown up, the email registrations.
And we're excited to see you, E-Town. We're really excited to see you. And I think the thing about don't go broke in a nursing home, that's great. That's fantastic. But we were just serving a client in our Kentucky office, and she's young, and her daughter lives in California, and there is no crisis. I mean, she runs, several miles a day. She's fine. But she's at that age where she wants to hold on and protect, and she's got very wisely an eye towards what might come next, which is maybe a nursing home. And it's never too soon, Kentuckiana, E-Town, to come out to one of the workshops, because we're covering pre-crisis. Like, you don't want to stand in the middle of the fire. That's cool. Here's some things that you could potentially do today.
And think about how many other aspects of your life that if you could take care of something, if you had known, and you could have done it differently to start with, how much of a better place you might have been in, as we show some of the workshops up here.
The workshops Monday at the Hilton Garden Inn on Crenton Drive by the Cracker Barrel, Tuesday morning in Clarksville, Veterans Parkway on Broadway, and Wednesday we're downtown in E-Town.
Got them spread out.
And E-Town representing.
We got to go back to the E-Town. So I never got to the bottom of this on Monday, which you made the comment again. You got to be out of E-Town by nightfall.
I have to be out
Is
before
there like
nightfall.
a special story behind this?
Well,
are we allowed to know it?
No, Larry is so great with clients, our older clients, because Larry is geriatric and older. And so, he's a ton of fun, but he's got a bedtime.
I'm in bed by 4:30 in the afternoon. I'm gonna have my oatmeal, my yogurt at 4:15. Lights out at 4:30. I gotta get home.
What time are you up? Every day? 2 p.m.
But I'll still make sure you don't go broke in nursing home.
That's right.
But to Lindsay's point, the lady we had in the office, Sue, she was the third hand that goes up at the questions at the workshops. We open up. How many people have loved one in a nursing home about to go? That's crisis planning. We can help. Husband and wife, we can keep all the assets. Single person, about half. The second variable is how many people have a loved one getting some rehab. If certain things don't work out, we might have to look at care and placement. Hands go up. That's pre-crisis planning. We can help. But Sue is the third question. How many people simply want to get ahead of these problems and avoid it for themselves and their kids? And that was Sue. That's why she came up today. She's healthy. She's navigating the world fine. She wants to avoid problems and give herself peace of mind so her daughter in California doesn't have to deal with this.
Very
pre-planning,
empowering, and proactive.
Well, and you never know when a situation can change.
Right.
And
That's right.
It's not up to us. And
That's
so
right.
To be on top of it, it's huge.
Nobody plans on failing. People fail to plan. Think about that, because we spend more time on our grocery list, having time with the grandkids or getting the girls ready for school photos or vacation with Ben Jones. We spend a lot of time with those things, but not the things that really matter. We built this life together. Take a few moments to hold on to what you have, Kentuckiana. It starts next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll be there.
All right, we got about a minute left. Last thing I'll ask you guys today is in doing this all the time that you have, is there a big takeaway that you've learned over the years that is a big secret you want to share outside of the workshops, of course?
Well, I think it's just this is tough stuff. It's hard stuff. And I think it's just the physical response when we're sitting there with a client and we're in the plan and they get the plan and we've got it, the sigh of relief. you know, their shoulders fall away from their ears a little bit. They can stand a little taller, walk a little lighter, and you know, that's the gift that we're able to give, and that's what we love doing what we do. But we can help. That's the thing. We can help.
And to finish that point, so many people out there right now in Kentucky believe that, well, we just went to rehab. We've got 30 or 100 days. No, you don't. It can stop at any moment. That's why it's so important to come to the workshop.
We got to go. Thanks for being here, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Welcome back to Wave Listens Live here on this Friday. We've got the Elder Advisors back with us again, of course, specializing in protecting your assets, that peace of mind, making sure you don't go broke in a nursing home.
Don't do it, Brian. You don't have to.
I hope I'm a little ways off from there, but we talked about it. Never too early to plan.
Not for you, Brian. Not for you.
Not for me. This is Larry Weiss, owner and president. We've got
Hello, Kentuckiana.
Autumn
and
Schneider
Elizabethtown.
in the middle.
Yes.
Autumn Schneider joining us today.
Schneider, Director of Client Services, and we are very happy and excited to have Miss Amy Wheatley from Stein Law with us today. And Stein Law will be our guest speakers for the month of May at the workshops.
Giving us some legal perspective.
Well, because I'm not an attorney giving legal advice.
Right.
I give hair color advice for men and maybe some financial tips, but I don't do the legal.
Some suiting advice. You always look wonderful on the set
I'm
here.
a man of the peeps.
Okay, speaking of, I told you not to warn me. We have props on set today that match your tie, so I'll let you launch right into it.
Well, actually what I want to launch into is a genuine thank you for everybody at the Wave 3 community. I mean, this is a home for elder advisors. We know everybody from Mr. John, the station manager, down to Hannah in the booth right now, certainly Brian. And by the way, congratulations.
Thank you.
Being here. This is your first full week here with Wave 3 Listens Live.
I got to hang with you guys 3 times.
It's a blessing for all of us.
Better.
It's a blessing for all of us. But we really just love the Wave 3 community. And, dare I say, I'm not comfortable with the word success, but I'll say a lot of the blessings that we have is because of Wave 3 and the community that watches Wave 3. So I'm very genuine about that, and I know Autumn shares my opinion as well with that.
Well, they're wonderful people. That's why I keep coming back to hang with them, and I get to talk to so many people out and
We're
about.
very blessed.
Churchill Downs, everywhere I see everyone.
Very
so
blessed.
I know that they are obviously behind the important work that you guys do. So Autumn, I'll go to you first. When you start getting ready for these workshops that are coming up and knowing the type of people you're going to get to meet and help, what are those moments like?
Oh, those are very good moments. I mean, you never know who you're going to meet. You never know what situation is going to come forward, whether it's somebody maybe going into a nursing home, somebody already at a nursing home, or just some family, maybe the kids are coming in to kind of see what options we have for their parents. And then, hopefully they're going to get some smiles and some laughter out of our workshops because you're dealing with this guy. So
funny. Well, he can make a situation that maybe was scary before. You'll settle it down and show that there is a path forward.
Well, and there is, Brian, because no surprise, this is tough stuff. It's worrisome, it's stressful. So many of the families are on the verge of tears when they sit down. And here's a news flash: I'm a little bit of a clown, whole lot of a clown. But
Says who?
I'm blessed. I am. Thank you, Brian.
says me.
Autumn's here to keep my ego in check. It's never a problem. She always cuts me off at the knees all the time. But it is stressful, and so 95% of the world get me. The other 5 don't. Sorry, but those are the people that get annoyed when a squirrel's in the yard. I can't fix all the problems of the world. But when I have to get serious, I'm the first one to get serious because this is tough stuff. But a lot of times when people come in, the last thing you're expecting is a little laughter, a little silliness, because it is such a draining emotional thing. I had a gentleman come in yesterday. It was a client we had 5 or 6 years ago. And he'd had a trust book opened up, and he said, well, you did this trust. And I said, well, no. I looked at it, I said, well, Steve Langdon, he's an attorney with CWB. Steve did this trust, and I said, everything you're talking about is legal, and I would encourage you to call Steve's office. He's a good guy. They'll do a good job for you, but that is legal. I don't do that part. And that's why we always like to have attorneys at the workshops, because, we may be talking about real estate, we may be talking about getting appraisals or things like that, but there's almost always a legal nuance, and that's why we're delighted to have Amy Wheatley this month in Stein Law help clients at the workshops.
Yeah, and so Amy, I'll direct this next one to you. Look, it may seem obvious why you need an attorney through this process, but if somebody were to ask you that question out at the workshops, what's the simplest way of why you need an attorney on your side?
Well, because you need to make sure that you plan what's going to happen to your money after you pass away, before you pass away. You need to make those decisions ahead of time. It's always better. You don't want your loved ones to be left with trying to figure out what your wishes were, where is this going to go, what's going to happen to the house. And, a lot of people think, oh, if I have a will, that's good enough. But, that isn't enough. That isn't it. A will only does so much, and then it has to go into probate, and then, that takes time, that takes money. And so there are a lot of aspects to an estate plan, and it's always better to do that right now, and that way your loved ones aren't left wondering, what did Mom want me to do with this? That way it's already written out.
You're doing it when you're able to instead of when you're forced to, or somebody else is forced to take care of it. On the peace of mind side, we always talk about peace of mind when you guys are here. Why is that such an important aspect that you want to preach when we're trying to help these folks?
Well, the peace of mind, the building block for families, because at the workshop there's 3 keys of crisis. Crisis planning, there's someone in a nursing home, they're in rehab, we can help. That's crisis planning for husband and wife, Brian. We can protect all the assets. For a single person, about half. And that's crisis planning. Second is pre-crisis planning. Someone's at home getting some rehab, we can still help get some things lined up. And then the third variable is how many people want to avoid these problems for themselves and give themselves peace of mind in the future. That's pre-planning, and all 3 of those components have legal component. That's why we have Stein Law coming in May. But the building block, I had a family this morning. I asked him, I said, do you and your husband have power of attorney for each other? These people have been married 40 years. No. And that's just devastating. The peace of mind for Kentuckiana is come to the workshops, make use of the fact you've got attorneys there that can answer these questions. Just because they've been married 40 years does not give them the legal or financial authority to deal with certain things. They need to have power of attorney. Because if they don't have power of attorney, Kentuckiana, what happens, Amy?
Well, then they can't do a lot of things for someone. A bank won't let them if they're not on the account, the bank's not going to talk to them. If they want to try and sell some sort of life insurance policy or anything else, they can't sell anything.
You're going to run into a host of headaches and roadblocks.
Everywhere,
yeah.
Yes.
When you've got we got the 3 workshops coming up, anything that you were hoping is asked this year? I know you guys get different things at all of them, but is there anything specific that y'all are hoping, this is what I hope people are getting away from this?
Well, I think the first thing is, does this really work? It does. No one thing can do it well. That's what Elder Advisors does. It works. You just have to know the right people that manage this skill set every day, and that's why we're doing the workshops. And E-Town has just been blowing up the email Eventbrite.
Is that because of your
well, we haven't been there before.
Okay.
I think that's a lot of it.
Yep.
And so then go to freeworkshop.com and register. But it is good news. It's good news because the time to do this was yesterday, and like Lindsay has said so many times, the time to plant a tree was 20 years ago or today. It's never too late. It's never too late. There's always going to be a couple empty seats because those people have subscribed to the barbershop law that nothing can be done. It's too late. And it's not. It's still stressful, but we can help because that's part of what Autumn does is take the stress off the shoulders, because Autumn has become our placement angel to help families find places, because it is so hard just to do a Google search. Because people don't even answer the phone.
Where to start.
Where do I go?
Yeah.
Where do I go?
So Autumn, this is perfect for you. So we got about a minute in this break. But when people are trying to go throughout that process, what is one of the top things that you would like to share with them when they come to you for your services?
Well, if we're talking a placement for the nursing homes, the top thing is, not everybody has a Medicaid bed. That's the number one thing. I mean, you have to know who does, know who will work with us, and that goes a long way. A lot of people kind of Google, oh, I like this place. Well, yes, but when you come to Elder Advisors, we know if this place may be a fit or maybe won't be a fit. So that's probably the top.
All right, well, we've got more with the Elder Advisors, more advice. We've got the peeps. Hopefully, we get to the bottom of Larry's peeps.
I'm afraid I don't know what you're talking about.
Neither do I. We'll see you in a couple minutes. Back with you now this Friday on Listens Live. We've got the Elder Advisors, protecting your assets, that peace of mind, making sure you don't go broke in a nursing home.
Don't do it because you don't have to.
You don't have to. Before the break, we were talking about placement. So let's get back to that because it's obviously such an important aspect.
And it really is, and it's just another example of how our business model has grown. You know, we now have a master level social worker. Lindsay is a board certified patient advocate. So that's part of what we bring to the table is, you know, I kind of do the financials, but there's the human component. What do I do when they call? Is mom getting the right nutrition stuff? So we have staff that helps with that now. But Autumn really stepped the game up about 3 years ago with placement. You know, now the business office managers are texting her in real time, hey, we've got some beds available, make sure. So she is really just, you know, I couldn't be more proud of Autumn. She's really excelled in working the relationships. She was at a couple communities yesterday bumping into other staff from Elder Advisors because we're helping different families there. I mean, we are out there every day as an advocate for families, and Autumn is working it hard. Thank you, Autumn.
Well, thank you.
Well,
I try.
We need it. I mean, these are the services we need. So not only a thank you, but for our community as a whole, this is the type of thing that brings people together. It helps us to go forward during tough times. That's what the workshops are for as well. 3 workshops coming up, and there are 3 key questions
There are.
you ask right when you walk through the door.
Yeah, pretty much when we open up at 10 a.m. is I tell the families, the audience are there, I said, you know, you don't have to be honest with me, but if you're going to get anything out of the workshop today, you need to be honest with yourself. And it starts with 3 key questions. How many people have a loved one in a nursing home or about to go? And hands will go up. That's crisis planning. The house is literally burning down in real time. It's the worst possible time for everybody in the family. We can help. If it's a husband and wife, one spouse is going in, we're not getting divorced. That's barbershop law. We're not doing that unless you want to. But we're going to protect the assets so mom and dad can keep everything. We work within the rules to do that. The second variable is how many people have a loved one at home getting some rehab, maybe some adult daycare. And if certain things don't play out next 3 or 4 months, we might have to think about calling Autumn for placement or things like that. Hands go up. That's pre-crisis planning. We can help then. We're certainly in the skill set of the legal components using Stein Law, because there's things we're definitely going to do now ahead of time to get some things going there. And then the third question is I tell people, I said, now everybody's hand's going to go up, and some more than once. And I'll ask families, I say, how many people simply want to avoid these problems for themselves now, give themselves peace of mind, and protect their family and what they've worked a lifetime for? Maybe keep the 100-acre farm. Then all the hands go up. That's pre-planning. It's proactive planning. It's getting ahead of the curve. So often we react to things. Well, if you're going to be an aggressive estate planner, and I'm hyper full of energy, you got to get ahead of this. You've got to stay proactive. You've got to anticipate these problems. So it's almost always financial, but there's almost always a legal component. And I want to kind of come back to Stein Law. Amy was talking about the nuance. The one word I didn't hear was if the spouse of 40 years now suddenly has to sell the house to get a line of credit. Her husband's had a stroke. He's in the hospital, and he can't sign anything, and he doesn't have power of attorney. What is their only legal recourse? Amy Wheatley, Stein Law.
Then they have to go to the court and have him appointed as a guardian appointed for him. And that's a lengthy, expensive, and frankly upsetting process.
Well, it's perfect that you're here today, too, with Stein Law, because since you've been on this week, just 3 times we've gotten to hang out together.
It's the charm.
Exactly. I've had several people reach out to me saying, you know, this is actually something I need to do. Yeah. One of the questions I got was, okay, we talked about on the law side, the financial aspect that you're dealing with. Is there something else that is another top on the legal side? This is something that would need to be addressed?
Well, and I think what Larry was talking about is the power of attorney. Because I think a lot of people think that, oh, we've been married for 40 years.
It's there.
You know, it's there.
Right.
I know his socks and I know his shoe size, and so I should be able to sign these documents. And you can't. And unfortunately, in order to do a power of attorney, you have to be of sound mind and body. So a lot of times, if you feel like that your significant other is maybe slipping, maybe starting to have some issues with like dementia or something, then it's too late at that point to get a power of attorney. So the time to get it would be before all of that happens.
Yeah.
And
sure.
Which is what we're planning for here. But
right.
Larry, when you've had to have those conversations where someone comes to you and says the things that Amy was referring to, I know everything about him. I know his shoe size, but they haven't properly planned. What is that like to try to navigate through the process then?
They're about to enter the world of what I call fiscal combat. They're now dealing with, previously, you know, Mary or Sue or Bob at the bank were all nice and cheery. Now suddenly they're very dour. They're very demure. Well, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. You know, I'm sorry. Well, the problem is now the financial institution has the asset, has the control over, but now the family does not. And so then things turn very quickly, and now you get that sick feeling in your stomach. So that's what we're trying to impart with the workshops. And this is the basic stuff. This is the basic stuff. It's worth coming out to the workshops, you know, Monday in Louisville, Tuesday in Clarksville, Wednesday in E-Town. All the workshops start at 10 o'clock. Then go to freeworkshop.com or call 855-LAWYER55. It's worth an hour and 20 minutes of your time. Make use of the fact that we are going to have attorneys there so they can handle the legal component, because we're not attorneys at Elder Advisors. We do the financial part. I can clean the windshield of your car, but I don't do the legal part. That's why we're glad to have Stein Law here for May to answer these questions, because there's almost always a legal component. But it's going to be fun. It's fast-paced. You know, give up an hour and 15 minutes of your time this next week. It'll be fun. You might even learn a few things.
And one way that we can look at this, and Autumn, maybe on the placement side, think about all the other aspects of your life that maybe you've run into an issue and you wish, I wish I would have planned ahead of time for this. When it comes to placement, is that something that you're going to be talking about almost right away with some of these folks?
Oh yeah, for sure. If it's a crisis plan, it'll be, even if it's just 6 months out, we want to look, because it's important to get on the list at some of these places, especially if they really have one they love, and you know, some of them have 2-year wait list. So it's really, really, really important to get in front of it and at least start the process. But it is never too late. I mean, even if they don't have the power of attorney, call us. People like Amy we work with will get things done. This is
just a snippet of the things you're going to get in a workshop.
Absolutely.
I mean, you could have joined the show today and not known the power of attorney situation, not known there are a wait list that long to maybe get placed into the areas that you thought you would.
It is very long, and it's very long.
And to Autumn's credit, she knows how to thread the narrative, the conversation with the business office at the communities to say the right things, don't say the wrong things, because sometimes, you know, when a regular layperson calls, it's hard to get a phone call returned, and then when they start talking, they say wrong things, they get it mixed up.
Sometimes I can get a jump on that 2 years, so we'll work with them and the communities and see what we can get done.
30 seconds. Hit the workshops one more time.
Kentuckiana, don't go broke in a nursing home, because you don't have to. It's that simple. Come out Monday, Louisville, Hilton Garden Inn on Crittenden Drive off exit 132 I-65, right next to Cracker Barrel. Tuesday, we're back in Indiana, Clarksville, Hampton Inn, right off of Veterans Parkway on Broadway. And E-Town, we're coming downtown to E-Town on Wednesday, 10 o'clock at the Hampton Inn.
You're a professional.
Hilton Garden Inn.
Oh, I don't have to be.
Yeah, Hilton Garden Inn, Wednesday.
Okay. Do we get anything about the Peeps before we go?
That's my man, Mr. Peeps. He's been all over the set.
I know he has, but
right?
Everybody keeps asking me why. You're not gonna know.
Isn't it Easter Sunday? Isn't Easter on
Father's
Sunday?
Day.
Larry
Come out to the
accessorizes.
workshops. He'll explain it there. Happy weekend, everyone.
Bye, Kentuckiana.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us here on Wave Listens Live. I'm your host, Brian Chlonsky. Another great show for you today. The Elder Advisors back with us in studio, helping you not go broke in a nursing home. We'll also have an important message from Donate Life Kentucky ahead of Father's Day weekend. So let's start with Larry Weiss here in the studio again.
Why start
with us
anywhere
today.
else, right?
We never do.
Hello, Kentuckiana. How you doing? Don't go broke in a nursing home. You don't have to.
You don't have to.
You don't have to.
And you can learn more at the workshops.
Workshops. It is workshop time, end of June, Monday at on Crittenden at the Hilton Garden Inn at 10 a.m. Right off exit 132 on 65, and then Tuesday at the Hampton Inn on Broadway off Veterans Parkway. And Wednesday, we're going north. We're going up to Seymour, Indiana,
All right.
at the Fairfield Inn, 10 a.m. So we're doing the road trip then because it's good news. Because the reality is, Brian, so many people just govern themselves off the barbershop law. You know, everything's bad. Everything's negative. You know, it's doing anything. And, you know, we always have the workshops well attended, knock on wood, but there's always a couple empty chairs. And I kind of liken that to the people that have subscribed to nothing can be done. You know, I'm down to my last $25,000. I'll just leave it here at the nursing home because Bob said when Aunt Mary went in Arkansas, they lost everything. Well, that might have happened to Aunt Mary in Arkansas or Ben Jones that was helping or whatever, but it doesn't have to happen here if you engage elder advisors. So you wait for it. Don't go broke in a nursing home. You don't have to.
And that's not your only slogan.
It is not.
Because think about this. Okay, so you talked about maybe it did happen to some story that you heard about in a barbershop or on the internet. Well, maybe it happened to them because of planning. Give them that line.
Or lack of planning. You know, or lack of planning, or they thought they could just, you know, mom only had $30,000 so she could give each of the kids $15,000 because the IRS says you can. Well, that's fine for the IRS, but not for Medicaid because they will disallow that because that's a penalty. But there's ways that we address that. So, and I always start the workshops, and I tell the folks, I said, you don't have to be honest with me, but I think to get something out of the workshop, you need to be honest with yourself, Brian. So I asked 3 key questions. How many people have a loved one in a nursing home now or about to go to nursing home? Hands go up. That's crisis planning. For husband and wife, if one spouse goes in, Brian, we can protect all the assets. It's what we call special exceptions because there are special transfer exceptions for husband and wife. And that's crisis planning. We can help. If it's a single person, we can still protect about half of the assets. Then the second variable is how many people have a loved one at home. We're trying to keep some eyes on them. Maybe develop plans so they don't have to go to a nursing home. Hands go up then. That's pre-crisis planning. And Marianne Keller with Elder Advisors, as a 40-year master level social worker, she has developed programs and strategies and makes use of the options out in the community to keep people at home. Because in all fairness, no one probably wants to go to a nursing home. So now we have the ability to go beyond the financial component of giving people peace of mind to stay at home. And that's what Marianne brings to the table as a master level social worker to develop strategies to stay in their home.
You've said this to me before, but fail to plan, plan to fail.
Yep.
And one of the important aspects of going to a workshop like this is you may not even know what you don't know yet.
It's so true.
And how do you put yourself in a position to succeed when you're going through all these life changes if you don't even have all the information yet?
Right. Then come to the workshop. I mean, you know, go to freeworkshop.com. You know, it's real simple. Freeworkshop.com. It solves all your problems. Or you can use the telephone, you know, 855-LARRY-55. It answers all of your questions, Kentuckiana. But I mean, you know, unfortunately, we spend more time on our weekend planning our grocery list to go to the store or a fishing trip with the kids. We spend all this innate time for that. We spend very little effort trying to protect what we spent a lifetime working for or trying to manage now. And those people that don't do that, and that's most of it's human nature, then we run into train wrecks, and you don't have to. You just don't have to.
You and I spend a lot of time planning our suits, of course, but, you know, gotta look good.
I'm so emotional. Kentuckiana, this isn't live TV, so tape delay.
Right.
You know, I am so, inside, I'm emotionally devastated because once again, Brian, you've upstaged me on live television.
Not a chance.
I mean, look, fundamentally, you're a good-looking guy, and then it's just enhanced with the suit, and I don't have any place to go here.
To be fair, they're supposed to take my Listens Live headshots after the show today, so I had to step it up just for today.
Look, Brian, you're good-looking as it is. You don't have to explain it away and excuse it. I'm homely, and I accept my lot in life.
You don't see me when I wake up in the morning.
Stop it. Hey, Kentuckiana, don't go broke in the nursing home. You don't have to.
This is the best part about having you on. Look, we have a great time every time Larry's on the show.
I'm a beautiful woman, Kentuckiana.
It's a lot of fun. You learn something new every day. The thing that I want people to know about you is you put your whole life into this.
I do.
You really care about the people that you help. What are those moments like when you've seen something start to finish and you know how maybe it would have played out had Elder Advisors not been there?
Well, that happens all the time, and I can tell you where it starts. We had a gentleman this morning. He and his wife came up from E-Town, and he's concerned about his mother. Autumn was going to be here today in the show, but she's burning the candle at both ends, so she's got to triage her time to help this family with placement because he's ill. He wants to make sure mom is taken care of, his wife is taken care of, so Autumn's burning up the phone with placement because placement's very difficult. And when we wrapped up in about an hour, you know, he just said, wow, this is just really moving fast. And I told him, I said, a rolling stone gathers no moss. I mean, you know, we're at crisis plan. You know, you're getting a bill for $10,000 a month. We got to go. You know, I mean, if you want to sit and think about and pontificate, you can, but then you're going to get a bill for $10,000, and 2 weeks later you're going to get a bill for August, another $10,000. This is go time. You know, you got to go. I love what I do. You know, high energy, surprise, spoiler alert.
Shocker.
You know, right, but I love what I do. I'm so truly blessed. I really am. I've got 7 great people that work with me. I surround myself with top talent. One of that top talent will be Debbie Goldberg coming out in the next segment, because I don't know everything. I don't do everything, so I make sure. I was on the phone with Jeff Hurst, Remax Properties East, lining him up for the family in E-Town because we got to get the house sold. In that case, for Debbie, they want the house sold. But if not, there's options she can bring to the table.
It is it's a perfect teaser for the next segment, because because of the energy you bring, the passion to what you do, you have all these great partnerships, and we've had attorneys that you bring on.
Absolutely.
And today, the guest that you're bringing with us, you talked about Debbie, she brings a whole new industry to the market.
It does, and it's something that I wasn't aware of. And just like with Marianne Keller, before Marianne came on board, I realized I was a financial advocate. I'm protecting the assets. And a lot of times I would tell the families, well, when mom falls, goes to nursing home, call me. Well, now we don't have to wait for that to happen. Now Marianne can get out to the home and assess the situation and needs a family's house, so maybe we can stay at home so we never have to deal with the crisis plan of the nursing home. It starts with a phone call, 855-LARRY55. freeworkshop.com answers all your questions.
Don't go anywhere, so we got another segment coming up next. We're going to talk about that new industry, everything you need to know, more with Larry and Debbie joining us after the break. Back with you now on Listens Live. Don't go broke in a nursing home.
Don't do it. Don't you dare do it.
Larry Weiss making sure you don't do it. Debbie Goldberg here with Prestige Home Watch. And before we get into your story and all the expertise you bring, I want to talk about how you two got paired together.
Well, you know, the older I get, the wiser my dad becomes. And Dad said, you know, if you don't know something.
You were full of one-liners today.
Are you done hurting me?
I gotta write these down.
These verbal
No,
clips,
I like them.
they hurt me.
I need to write them down.
So
I'm
anyway,
gonna steal at least one of them.
Yeah, you can have them. You know, Dad said if you don't know how to do something, you better know people that do. So, you know, Debbie was at one of our recent workshops, came in and we were talking, and, you know, I try to think I have a good eye for talent and for need and services that people can provide, because I don't do everything. You know, I'm not a lumberjack, I'm not a plumber, I'm not an attorney. I do the financial part. So we started talking with Debbie, and she had a unique skill set. Because, you know, for me, it's trying to protect the house, or if we have to sell the house. But Debbie kind of brings a void, fills the void for my particular set of clients. And with that, I'll let Debbie Goldberg explain.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate being here today. Yes, I'm Debbie Goldberg with Prestige Home Watch and Concierge Services. And I provide a service to the absentee homeowner whose house is sitting there for various reasons with no one in it at the moment. I provide a visual inspection, both interior and exterior, on a regularly scheduled basis. I'm looking for problems. I'm looking for issues. And I bring a correction to that issue when I find them.
Debbie, we talked about before you even came on that this is really a new industry that you're bringing to the market. What are some of the questions you get? Because there's a variety of people this could help, from some of our seniors to the snowbirds who are leaving town for an extended period of time. What are some of the big questions that you get about what you do?
Well, home watch is a new term in the Louisville market. It's well known and has been a long-standing industry in Florida, the Carolinas, the resort markets, up east. But I do often get home what? And home watch is not a house sitter service. I don't pet sit. I'm looking after your property in the same way you would look after it if you were here.
Larry, it shows from your perspective of things, you're going after and making sure that Elder Advisors is teamed up with people who are innovating and right. looking for things, because you get questions all the time too.
Absolutely. And in the green room, Debbie brought up a point which I thought was really good, which is, you know, someone's in rehab And with that, I'll let you pick that up. I'll tee it up for you because I thought that was a great, insightful part of what she brings to the table for my clients.
Sure.
And I'll let you finish the rehab story.
Now I'm looking for about 4 different set of clients, but the primary connection with Larry and Elder Advisors is that we have a senior, and we're looking out after them. So sometimes a senior will be into rehab, staying longer than they want, but wanting to come home sooner than they need because they're afraid their house is sitting there empty. They may not have family in town. Or someone who's considering independent living, assisted living, they're not quite ready to sell their house. Once again, the house is sitting unoccupied. So anytime your home is vacant, it's vulnerable. And that's where I come in to give you peace of mind.
When and you were saying, Debbie, that you've heard stories where like a lady, she wants to speed up her rehab and maybe not get the full rehab.
And that's very true. And I've had conversations from other facilities that they say, oh, we could really use it here for you to be known because they want to go home sooner than they're ready to go home. So they're worried about the house.
Of
Let me
course.
take away those concerns.
And these are things that aren't just benefiting individuals. This benefits our entire community. When we have services like this that are available that weren't in the past, you don't have people rushing through getting the care that they need or worrying about something that's creating more problems when they should be taking care of what they really need to do in that moment.
Right.
Well, and Hannah, the producer, is talking in my ear. I've got the I've got the 5,000.
She's talking to you instead of me.
Well, but the reason is because I've got the upgraded 5000 XL series. You don't have it yet?
No, I
do.
got the old edition.
Well, I do. Hannah prefers. Hey. But Hannah was just telling my earpiece, that's why we're doing the workshops.
Right.
To learn this insight, because you don't have to just throw your hands up and there's nothing that can be done and subscribe to the bad news. Nothing can be done. The barbershop law, because for families, husband and wife, if one spouse is in care, we can pretty much protect all the assets. That's crisis planning. I don't care what Uncle Cliff said. That doesn't apply here. It doesn't have to. For a single person, we can still protect about half of the assets so they don't go broke in a nursing home. And that's why we're doing the workshops next week. Hannah just brought up on the panel. So we got Monday, June 19th, Crittenden Drive next to the Cracker Barrel off of I-65, exit 132. And in Indiana on the 20th, we're at the Hampton Inn in Clarksville on Broadway Street, right off Veterans Parkway. And of course, Wednesday, we're going north. We're going up to Seymour, Indiana at the Fairfield Inn at 10 a.m. to show families how to protect assets, give themselves peace of mind so they, wait for it, don't go broke in a nursing home.
It's perfect that you brought the Uncle Cliff story into what you were talking, because it came right after you introduced Debbie, and you're saying, look, I don't know everything. That's why I have all these partners.
Absolutely.
So chances are Uncle Cliff in this scenario is not somebody who specializes in this. He has a day job that is totally different.
Absolutely.
So his experience is not what you should expect for yourself.
No, absolutely not. And I think it's important to sometimes defer to experts. I mean, certainly when we go to the doctor, we have to defer to the doctor and his skill set. If we're going to see an attorney, which I'm not an attorney, Kentuckiana, then you want to defer to the attorney because of their skill set. If you're going to a lumberjack and you're felling trees in Canada, defer to the lumberjack. But here on Elder Advisors, defer to Elder Advisors.
Debbie, for folks who are looking for more information about the services that you specifically provide, what do you want to get out there if our viewers watching today want to get in touch with you specifically?
Well, I think if they take a moment and go to my website, they'll find that I have complete detail of the inspection report that I do. In addition, I do some concierge services. So I want to be there, meet with them, find out what their needs are, and then tailor a plan for them. So my website is phwky.com, prestigehomewatchkentucky.com, and my number is 502-792-9070. Feel free to call me. We can talk through anything.
Easy enough. We got about 45 seconds. Larry, I got to let you take it away.
Thank you, Brian. TV's erstwhile personality for all of Kentuckiana, my man Brian, right here at Wave 3, 1230, live. Is this live?
Today it is.
It is, it is. Okay.
Every day it is.
Kentuckiana, don't go broke in a nursing home because you don't have to. It's that simple. But you have to come to the workshops. A long journey begins with this first step. That starts Monday in Kentucky at the Hilton Garden Inn, right off I-65, next to the Cracker Barrel. The journey continues Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. at the Hampton Inn in Clarksville on Broadway off of Veterans Parkway. And the journey concludes on Wednesday up in Seymour. We're going up 65, barefoot in so you don't go broke in a nursing home, because you don't have to. It's good news. Go to freeworkshop.com or call 855-LARRY-55. Brian did answers all of your questions and problems in life.
It's so important, the work you guys do. Thank you so much for both being here, for what you do every day. Hope the workshops are successful. We will see you soon, and don't go anywhere, because we have more coming your way. We're talking Father's Day, maybe an important message from Donate Life Kentucky. We have a father joining us right now that maybe wouldn't be here except for the work that that organization does and the selfless gift from somebody else. Brian Chalonsky back with you now on Wave Listens Live. Important guests joining us now, Larry Weiss and Lindsay Fleming.
Hello, Kentuckiana. Don't go broke in a nursing home. You don't have to.
I love that we're important.
Well, when I introduced the elder advisors, I was trying to think of a great adjective, and nothing was better than important.
We'll go with that.
I know.
I'm going with beautiful.
Well, of course.
I got to give a shout out to my lovely wife, AJ. I mean, my lovely wife, Lucy. AJ is your wife. Hi, Lucy. Love you.
AJ is my husband.
I guess you get to give a shout out too after that, right?
Yeah. Gosh, goodness. It's the only reason why I work here is because Larry's in love with my husband.
He's a beautiful man.
Is he coming on the show ever?
I can only wish.
His suits look like yours.
I would never leave the studio if he did.
Yeah.
He's not.
He
might be at the workshop, though. You guys should come out.
I was going to say,
see AJ at the workshop.
Besides our wonderful wives and husbands,
our mystery guests,
and our importance, there's an important workshop that's coming up.
Absolutely. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in Seymour, Indiana.
Yeah, we're heading north.
Yeah, we're going north, baby. We're going north.
See you in Seymour.
Monday in Louisville. Hannah's doing a great job in production today.
She is. She's a star.
Tuesday in Clarksville on Broadway off Veterans Parkway. And Wednesday, we're going up I-65 to Seymour, Indiana. Don't go broke in a nursing home, Kentuckiana. And Seymour, you don't have to.
So everyone is asking.
That's here.
Everyone's asking who should come to the workshop. Should I come to the workshop? Right. I don't know. So let's talk about who should come to the workshop.
Yes is the answer, first off.
Well, yeah, right? That's a blanket answer. If you're watching this, you should come to the workshop. But folks that are maybe entering a rehab or going to a nursing facility or at a nursing facility, it's never too late. Definitely you want to be attending the workshop. Yep. Let's see. Even if you're looking forward to retirement, like if you're getting really close to retirement,
you call those safe money options.
Safe money options. You know, at 64 and 65, we experience major life changes, right, with retirement and things like that. And so it seems wise. Our position is that your money should experience wise changes as well. So, you know, we are really out there trying to help Kentuckiana age intentionally in both their health and their wealth. So if anybody approaching 64, 65 or retirement, great, we've got a seat for you at the workshops.
It's perfect to segue into, because look, I would think that at this point, everybody knows the elder advisors, right?
Who doesn't?
Larry Weiss and Lindsay Fleming.
Hello, Kentuckiana. Did the show just start?
I saw you at the airport.
They are famous in some circles, infamous in others. But for those that are maybe one of our new guests joining us today, how do you tell them who you are?
Welcome to Kentuckiana. Elder advisors, don't go broke in nursing home, because you don't have to. I had a family sitting down today, husband and wife. Husband's in the nursing home, and the wife is like, well, there's a 5-year thing. We can't. I said, ma'am, stop that. That's barbershop law, because for husband and wife, there's special exceptions where we can keep all the assets for the at-home spouse. Here's a newsflash. The 5-year look back does not apply to husband and wife. That's what allows us to keep all the assets. There's a financial component, which is what elder advisors does. There's almost always a legal component. That's why we're delighted to have, I believe, Mr. Marshall, our CPA tax attorney for the Kentucky folks, and Laura Williams in Indiana for the Tuesday and Wednesday in Seymour. Because to do that, you almost always need a legal component so you don't go broke in a nursing home. So, Brian, for husband and wife, we can keep all the assets. For a single person, we can protect half of the assets. And inevitably at the workshops, even though Lindsay does her best to get people to workshops, she offers them cheese and stuff.
I know.
But the thing
More to
is,
come on that.
We're
Don't
into
worry.
that.
right, there's always a couple empty seats, and those are the people that have just given up. Nothing can be done. They've given up to barbershop law. Well, Bob at McDonald's said that when Uncle Cliff went in, we lost everything.
Google told me.
Yeah, Google told me, and that might have happened. But our clients, it didn't happen to our clients because we know the rules.
It's an empowering position, right? It's empowering. And I think the seats that are empty are the folks that are just letting life happen to them.
Sure.
Like, I just, there's
You can control what happens to you.
You can. You absolutely can. You have control. And what our families find is that, they feel so much better. There's this weight lifted. There's this position of, I'm moving through my golden years with confidence.
Right.
And I know, whatever happens, we're covered. We're good. And it's not stressful. It's the opposite of stressful. It's the opposite of stressful. To get it done, get it in line, get it in order.
It's why you should come to the workshops, because there is so much, there's more noise out there than ever before with every issue on the planet.
It is.
Cutting through that noise, hearing from experts who do this all day, every day, is what you need when you're dealing with something like this.
You don't Google the important stuff.
No.
Like, if it's really important, don't Google it. Don't Google. I mean, if you're like trying to find where to eat, whatever, Google that. Don't Google the important stuff. There is nothing more important than your life, building wealth, your money, your health. There's nothing more important to that. Don't leave that to the Google search bar.
And it's never too late. Even if someone's in the nursing home now, they've already written a check for $5,000 or $10,000, we can still help. We can stop the hemorrhaging of the financial loss. It's never too late. And for the families out there that, Aunt Messie went into the nursing home last week and we got rehab, that could stop at any day now.
Right.
So you need to get going. So at the workshops, there's crisis planning. We can help. Houses burning down, financially speaking. We can protect the assets for husband and wife. Single person, about half. Pre-crisis planning, Marianne really helps with that. She's a master level social worker. We can develop strategies to keep mom at home and dad at home. No one wants to go to the nursing home. I recognize that. We now have the tools and the skill set to help people put that off and maybe completely put it off, because the things that Marianne brings to the table as a social worker to bring different benefits and programs available to help people age in place, give the son or the daughter time to maybe go get their hair done, to go work out in the gym in the morning.
Live their life.
Right, live life and do that. And then pre-planning, a lot of that is what Lindsay does with safe money options, because here's what's interesting. We'll have a 65-year-old there that's there for their 86-year-old parent. But he just retired, and he has options and questions about his IRA rollover. He just left work. Well, Lindsay can help on the safe money for the 65-year-old, and I can help the son deal with his 87-year-old parents, protect the assets. So it's what we do. Know one thing and do it well.
Double win. All right, look, before we talk about the workshops one last time, there comes a time in every man and woman's life when we must talk cheese.
We have to talk
whatever
cheese.
reason that is. You foreshadowed it earlier.
So,
what do we got?
My lovely family, married into family, the Flemings are watching, okay? And we just got back from our Fleming family fun trip, vacation, and I have brought Ellsworth cheese curds.
Okay.
Ellsworth cheese curds.
What's the backstory?
Is there any other type?
I don't know. I'm learning. We have a minute, so
they're just so good. They're heavenly. It's a Fleming thing. I don't know.
Brian. Let me pass them to Brian. I'm
They're so
driving,
good.
so I can't have it.
I'm not driving.
Yeah,
I'm off
driving.
today. Okay.
Yeah. I observe the speed limit.
Oh my gosh, yeah, these are so good.
I'm all
So
about
I'll have-
safety.
what did you have for lunch today? Cheese curds. I'll eat this whole thing. Probably
so
before the
good.
45 seconds is up.
Since we're eating, you get to hit the
Kentucky
workshops.
Don't Go Broke Nursing Home. It starts Monday, 10 a.m. at the Hilton Garden Inn on Crenton and Drive off exit 132 next to the Cracker Barrel, 10 a.m. Tuesday, Indiana, Broadway, off Veterans Parkway at the Hampton Inn in Clarksville. Don't go broke in nursing home. You don't have to. And Seymour, Indiana.
We're coming for you,
We're
Seymour.
coming. I just have to be out by about 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Coming, Seymour.
But 10 a.m. Seymour. Don't go broke in nursing home at the Seymour. At the Fairfield Inn in Seymour. Don't go broke in a nursing home. You don't have to.
Protecting your assets easier than trying to eat cheese quietly with a microphone.
They're squeaky,
2 inches
squeaky cheese.
from your face. Elder Advisors.
See you next week, Kentuckiana.